Dolly Curtis, and again I'm trying to interview Joe Haines, who's a friend of mine for many, many years here in Easton. And Joe is about to become famous instantaneously, like within the next 20 minutes, because we expect CBS here to interview Joe. But locally, Joe and I are going to talk for a couple of minutes about what he's done over the last 25 years?
32 years.
32 years. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Dolly.
Now, Joe tells me that he's called the environmental police officer for the Bridgeport Hydraulic Company.
Right.
And for the town of Easton, he serves as the game warden.
Right.
Right, so in two capacities. And what actually does all that mean?
Well, the hydraulic company is patrolling the lands for poaching and swimming and fishing and pollution. And working for the town of Easton, I usually work on animal complaints in people's yards. And deer complaints, I tell them, or give them advice on how to set up fences or to put ivory soap up to repel the deer that are eating their flowers. And
oh, there's a way of doing that? Repelling
yes,
the deer? How do you do that?
You sprinkle a liquid ivory soap, mix it about 2 whiskey shot glasses to a gallon of water, and spread it over top of your bushes and brush, and it'll keep the deer from eating the brush. But you have to remember to do it as soon as it rains again. If you don't, they'll be right in and start eating it again.
But it's making soap suds when it rains.
It does, but it dissolves the soap and it doesn't have the strong smell, and it has to be ivory soap. It can't be another soap, Dove, or any one of those.
It's 100%. That's 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
But are you talking about the soap, or are you talking about that liquid dishwasher?
I'm talking about the liquid dishwashing. You can also take bars of ivory soap and cut them in half and push a nail through them and hang them up with string, and they'll cover 2 or 3 feet to either side of the half a bar of soap.
Well, this is the kind of thing Joe knows all about. He's just quite a legend around here. They call him the Indian, which you might tell me why. And he knows a great deal about fishing, hunting, and how to live on the survive and live with the earth, actually. So why do they call you the Indian?
Well, because I had the ability to track people, even without snow. I've tracked down, I don't know, 2 or 3 burglars and a rapist for the police departments in the surrounding towns.
Well, I know that once you came to my house and you said, Dolly, you have wild turkeys living here. And that was before we had all these population that we have now.
Right.
From the footprints.
From the footprints, yeah. Yeah, I get called quite often. I think one of the most rewarding things is finding lost children in the job. You know, one boy was lost for, I guess, about 4 hours, and I found him. It was almost midnight at night, and his clothes were all torn. And
but would he go for a walk?
No, he wandered away from his father, and he got lost in pitch black night, and he didn't find his way out, and he was way up over top of a mountain. No one could hear him or when he hollered or screamed. So it was the expression on the father's and mother's face when you bring him out was worth, you know, all the effort of getting him out.
Now, Joe covers a really large territory, because just from here to Weston, and I don't know how far your territory is that you patrol.
Well, down to Stanford, and all the way up, occasionally up to Norfolk, up to Lakeville, Salisbury, Canaan, but most of the time is spent in Fairfield County.
Right. I see you often sort of tucked into some of the evergreen trees just around the reservoir areas.
Yeah. I do a lot of foot patrol. I walk quite a bit during season. You do a lot of patrolling for deer, poaching, and you get back. I'd say sometimes I would estimate walk 25 to 30 miles a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's why you're putting the footage on these shoes of yours.
Yeah.
These boots
it keeps you in shape. In the winter, sometimes this gets a little heavy, but as soon as warm weather and fall comes, you lose it.
Well, you're walking around more. Well, I was really curious all these years knowing you, and it's been a pleasure knowing you. How did you, it's so different than how most people live here, grow to learn and want to learn all this that you have about the outdoors and hunting and fly fishing and all the things that you've taught James Prosick, all these things you've taught many, many people here?
Yeah, well, it's not only James. I like to help people. I mean, there's so many people caught up in the rat race of life in this area, and they don't know what's right under their nose for relaxation. And to be able to tell them a certain type of bird or a different animal in their yard that they can watch, or how to go about watching it, you explain it to them, and some people get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Some of the boys that I've taken fishing. You see, they still remember you. This James Prosect one was just happened to be a special thing that it took off, and who knows where it's going to end up
Right.
with the
Wonderful.
fame and notoriety that James has. But it was done without any intentions of any fame or notoriety. It was just to help James and try to keep him on the right track and show him how to fish legally.
Well,
you
what
know?
I think what happened at the time is Joe's son, Joey, who was always someone you had fishing with you and hunting and ice fishing, he had left the area for Colorado,
Right.
and you were with sunless, as they say, without
Right.
a son, and James was interested or looking for something to do that would keep him in a positive direction in a town which doesn't have a lot of things for a young, curious young man to do.
Right.
And you sort of keyed in on it and got him going on the fishing.
Yeah, that helped a lot. I would say that I did it basically for some friendship from a young lad, and like I say, but I've taken quite a few old people fishing. I mean, I've taken old Bill Franklin and old Dick
Oh,
Greiser
really?
that from the store, and
Oh,
different
really, Mr.
people that
Greiser?
couldn't get going on their own, and didn't want to take the chance of going. I used to take them fishing occasionally, and just
You never took me fishing, though.
no, I haven't.
You
taken
sent me
them fishing.
clamming with Fred Felici, but
Yeah.
you never took me clamming either.
Yeah.
You were clamming today, you said.
No, yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yesterday afternoon. Yeah, we'll have clams for supper tonight.
And when I first got here, Joe was, what do we call that? Sculling? Shucking the
Shucking clams.
clams.
Yeah.
I know you're always doing something. Whenever I come by, you're either tying flies, picking dandelions for the root for the salad at the right season,
Right.
early April, I think it is. Or you were doing a pig roast the other night, I understood,
Yes.
down at Sherwood Island.
Down at Sherwood Island, yeah. Well, there's so much to learn and so much so much good food out there that you can eat. That
Such as?
well, you got the fiddlehead ferns, you got all types
Can you
of
eat the fiddlehead
different.
fern?
Yeah, there's fiddlehead ferns you can eat. You can eat a multitude. All the hickory nuts in the fall, the mushrooms if you learn what to eat.
You gotta be careful.
There's plenty of things you can eat. Well, I've gone all these years and I have never had an
Listen,
accident, but I know that you do not want to get greedy. You learn 2 or 3 kinds and you pick that kind and you stay with it. You don't keep changing and say, well, this one looks like the other one, I'll try it. That's a no-no.
Not a good idea. You told me one time that you eat poison ivy, so I mean, I believe you eat mushrooms, and you told me in the early spring you eat a little bit
Yeah.
of...
Here comes a turkey. Can you get the camera onto the
Can
turkey?
we get the turkey? The
See
turkeys
the hen
come...
turkey come? Yeah.
The turkeys come at this time of day because you've been making friends with them for the last 2 years?
Yeah, I've been feeding them and kind of studying them. I was kind of shy on turkey habits, and I wanted to learn the habits of the turkey, so I feed them and I study them for sometimes an hour out the window and see how they react and how they fight and how the males treat the females and the females treat the males, and did quite a bit of intensive study on it to learn about the turkeys, because as I'm getting older, with all the studying and all the learning I've done, I see that I didn't even scratch the surface.
Really?
There's so much to
I
learn out there.
realize that myself.
Very, very little. You've just dented the top. This is all you've done.
That's right, in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, you were telling me that these turkeys are coming here in great numbers and everyone's talking about it. And where they all come from? We never had any wild turkeys here, maybe few and far between.
Well, the state had introduced turkeys up in the northwest corner, and as the flock grew, they moved down, and the state had netted them and moved different flocks of a dozen or so to different lower sections in the state. Plus, they think that quite a few came over from New York State. And
They can travel that far? They can travel?
They walk a long ways, and they're just taking over the whole state.
Yeah, they're all over
Yeah.
Easton, this part of Fairfield County, turkeys the last few years. And then you can see dozens of them sometimes.
Yeah,
They're
you can.
skittish.
There's been flocks of over 100 up in Canaan and up in Warren area of Connecticut.
Well, they're skittish, though. They run away.
They do.
Soon as
Yeah,
you-
they do. They're pretty wild. They're a pretty foxy bird.
What do you feed them?
I feed them whole corn, and they like to eat
I
the
see
whole
it's
corn.
all
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, I feed them, and the squirrels eat, and the different birds come and eat. There's quite a few birds, like I just showed you, the rose-breasted grosbeak company.
They're beautiful.
And you're able to study it, and you can watch it. You don't have to go out and sit for hours just to see one. I can sit and watch for quite a long time. In fact, while we're talking, I see a big tom turkey standing on the stone wall up in the woods up there.
That's got
And
good
he's
eyesight.
looking down here. Yeah,
He's looking down here because it's supper time and he doesn't want to come down here because he doesn't know me.
right.
Because I know these guinea hens got all angry as soon as I showed up.
Yeah, they're out here. A man brought them over and dropped them off, and I let them stay because they tell me they're great for ticks.
Yep. Guinea hens are supposed to eat ticks. It's supposed to be a natural predator.
Yeah, and I notice they're always picking at something. They're picking all little bugs and flies, so I imagine they do eat their share of ticks.
But the amount of ticks we have here, Joe, honestly, we'd need tons of guinea hens, not two.
Yeah, well, they're probably just concentrated in a yard. That's why people buy them and put them around their yard, and they pick, I guess, the majority of ticks in the yard. But like you say, if you step over the fence and go into the woods a little ways, you can still get ticks.
Yeah, all over. Do you know any natural remedies for ticks? Anything that you could put on yourself so you don't have to be using?
Well, there was a spray called Permanone, and
Yes.
now it's called Duranon.
Right.
It's the same spray, and I like it. I think it's a spray that the federal government
The Army was using it.
use it for their troops, and I noticed I spray my pant cuffs just around the pant cuffs and around my shirt sleeves, wear a long sleeve shirt, and I have no problems with ticks.
But I was thinking about natural. Some of the men that do the outdoor work, like the guys that do the landscape work, have asked me many times if there's something that they could put on themselves, their skin, like eucalyptus oil, I've heard, or garlic. Eat a lot of garlic because you smell, and then maybe the ticks won't like your scent.
I'm not familiar with what goes directly on. I know Permanone or Duranon
Goes on the clothing.
can go on the clothing. They recommend don't spray it on the
On your
skin
skin.
because the human oil dissolves it, and it doesn't
Oh.
work. It's not harmful to you. I asked the veterinarian, and he said you could spray it on your dog.
Permanone?
Permanone, yeah,
Permanone,
or Duranon,
Duranon.
yeah.
But actually the best thing I heard is that you put it on your clothing when you're not in the clothing.
Right, you can do it that way. I leave it my clothing right on, and I just spray my pant cuffs. And I know a man that went to a seminar on Duranon or Permanone, and he said that it would kill a tick in 8 seconds.
Well, I know you can wash your clothes and it doesn't come out. You can wash them a few times.
Right.
And it'll still hold the Permanone in it.
Yeah.
Shows you how strong it is.
Right, and it does. I sprayed a tick, and a tick was dead in just a few seconds.
Well, boy,
you know?
maybe I ought to. You know, they like certain people like me and you, so I hear
Yeah.
you're part of the.
Yeah, I've had
Some
Lyme
people-
disease
I know,
a
I
couple
do.
times, and but I was lucky to catch it early, and went on to the antibiotics, and it disappeared some. But sometimes you begin to wonder, I don't know if it's age or if the Lyme disease is coming back. Like old Bill Franklin had the Lyme disease come back pretty bad and put him back in the hospital for 2 days.
I really, myself, I'm infected, you know. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know. And I don't
Right.
think it goes away. I think it comes back.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
I think it relapses.
they say that you never get rid of it.
Right. You carry it.
Yeah, you
In your
carry it all
system.
your life.
It lives inside you, and if your immune system keeps it under control, but if it doesn't, we don't know why. It just relapses.
Right.
Back again. I think we should tell people about this book. Joe's about to become famous here. I guess you ought to tell them about this book.
Well, the book is entitled Joe and Me,
That's
and
such
it
a
was very nice of James to write the book, and it is stories of James and I and the career that we put together of me teaching him how to fish legally, and some of the stories. And it has, the stories are entitled Caught, Taunton Lake, The First Striper, Blue Crabs, Clover, The Drowned Boy, On Patrol, The Salmon River, Wolf Pit, Brutus, Pheasants, Lead, Sherwood Island, Ice Fishing, Candlewood Lake, Equinox, Orchard, and Gift.
Oh, there's a
And
lot.
all these stories are stories that have gone, or have taken place with James and I through the days. Brutus was a story about a bull that I butchered this fall. The man said he was getting too nasty, and we fattened him up and we butchered him. And James had never saw an animal butchered before, and he filmed it, and he was really amazed to see how it's done.
Where did you
And-
butcher it? Right here?
No, we butchered it over at the man's farm in Easton here,
Oh, I
over
see.
off of Norton Road.
Yes.
And it was a new experience to him, and I said, James, no matter how old you get, I says, I'm getting to hit the 60 mark, and I learn new things every day, so pay attention.
Well, what had happened is James wrote a book that became, I don't know if it's a bestseller, but the whole first edition sold out in 2 months. Last spring, 1996, it was published, I think, in April, and by June, the whole first edition was sold. So it's in the second edition, and that was called Trout of North America, and it's beautifully done.
Yeah.
And
Trout and Illustrated History. That was 70 species of trout, but that's including the extinct ones in North America that he wrote that book. And I believe now, the last time I talked to him, which was last week, it sold over 60,000 copies.
It is incredible.
It is.
Anybody, young or old, to have
And
success.
one of the main things is I don't know if you can get to look at a picture here, but James has illustrated everything and has painted all the pictures in the book.
Oh, how sweet. This is even a sweeter book than the last one because it's a personal book.
Yeah, this is a personal book.
I have to tell you, I was really got a kick out of that when I heard that this book was coming out called Joe and Me. It's like a fairy tale.
Well, it's just that James, in this high-pressured society that we have here now, has taken time to stop and listen to a bird sing and know what type it is, and to gear himself down a little bit and to enjoy the simple things in life beside the high-pressured things.
That's not easy when you're a student at Yale University trying to keep the grade point average,
Yeah.
and the cameras are on you too, because now you told me Good Morning America is showing up instantaneously here. We expected them in the morning. You're
Yeah.
going to go fishing with James in a stream?
Yeah, James wants to do a program with Good Morning America, and it'll be James talking, and myself talking to James, and trying to bring out some of the highlights of the simple things in life, and enjoying the outdoors. So many people live right here, and they don't know what to look for, you know.
Especially now that they're so frightened about the ticks, because it has made everybody so cautious.
Yeah, it does make them cautious with the ticks, but nevertheless, if you can come out your back door and sit down and listen to the birds right on your lawn and watch different things and can identify the things by sound, it makes it so much more interesting. James's father now has taken to watching birds. He goes down to the Audubon Society, and he talked to me the other day and told me he saw 11 scarlet tanagers as they were migrating through. Scarlet tanager is a fire engine red bird with the
Yes,
black wings,
right.
you know, and now that's quite an achievement to see 11 in one day, you know, but he's enjoying it so much. He really gets relaxation being retired from just watching this, you know. And there's so much that you can do. Everybody thinks that you have to get on a bicycle and pedal, or you got to run up and down the road to get physically fit and to relax, but you don't if you know how to do the right things that are out here, and they're all free.
Yeah, I know. It is very interesting here. I don't know how to put this whole point across about Joe. He's living a life amongst all the hustle bustle, but he's truly living a very full life because he's always either getting ready to go fishing in public waters.
Yeah, I fish
With
in
other
saltwater
friends?
and in freshwater. Lake Candlewood is one of my favorite places
Is
to
it?
fish. Yeah,
And you ice fish where?
I ice fish in Lake Candlewood too. Some big fish in Lake Candlewood. We catch trout 4 and 5 pounds and an occasional 6-pound trout in Lake Candlewood.
And you send a 300-pound friend of yours out first to be sure that the
Right,
ice,
that's what it says in the book. You make sure the ice is safe.
you send one of your
Here-
biggest friends out.
Yeah, here's a big tom turkey right behind you.
Is it
Can
gonna-
you see him? If we move over, you could maybe catch him in the film. See him
Oh,
standing
there
here?
it is. Is it going to come? It won't come near when
Well,
I'm
I
here.
don't think he'll come up here when we're here talking, but he come fairly close. I think he's caught him on camera now.
And now that's the tom. That's
a
the
tom,
female
and
with
there's
him.
a hen. You notice the tom's head is red, the female's head is dark gray.
Now sometimes a whole dozen of them come here.
Yeah,
and eat.
there'll
I've
be-
seen them from the kitchen window.
It's about this time of the evening that they all come down now. They want to eat before they go to roost at night.
And they roost at sundown.
Oh no, they'll roost just at dusk. They fly up into the trees and roost.
Those big things fly up in the trees.
Yeah, they can fly
They weigh
very well.
about. They fly very well.
A bird that size, that's not a real big tom. That's what they call a jake. That's last year's tom. Probably weigh about 13 pounds.
Oh, so not that big.
No, the other big toms will weigh 18 to 21 pounds.
What's the story on all these butterflies flying? I see all these butterflies in the lilacs behind me.
Yeah, the lilac. This lilac, I guess, is exceptionally high in pollen, and the butterflies are really hanging in this area.
Oh, because of the
it's-
pollen this
Yeah.
week?
Yep.
Yeah, we're really hitting the pollen right now. And then all along here is your stream. It's
Yeah,
just
the
fresh
little brook.
water.
That runs down into the reservoir here.
Do you ever get to do anything in that stream?
Well, there are native brook trout in there. I just wish I had 50 cents for every time my son got his feet wet in that brook when he was growing up. I could retire.
Ain't it falling in? Or just curiosity?
No,
so
just
he's
curiosity, and
constantly-
kept falling in. There's crayfish in there, there's little minnows, and there's also the native brook trout.
Well, it's just been, really very thrilling, and now the whole world's going to know about Joe Haines. It's like, from this quiet life that you like to preserve, now being on Good Morning America, I don't think it's going to change your life, though, right?
No, I don't think it will, because I still enjoy the finer things in life, and it's not the greenback dollar. It's just enjoying nature and the woods and the things that are in the woods.
I think what's going to happen, though, is when you and James, the two of you, are on Good Morning America and you hit your fame, notoriety, or whatever it's called, I think that in time, James is going to continue, as we all hope and know he will,
Yeah.
going forward. In 2 books in
Right.
2 years, he is much, much ahead of him.
Yeah.
And it's this beautiful thing that you were the person that kind of opened up his eyes, but he had the eyes to see.
Yes.
And his wonderful family, too, that gave him the beginnings to seeing and
Yeah.
the talents that he has.
Well,
But
James.
it came from you, really,
Yeah.
catching him that time when he was fishing.
Yeah, James he's a good boy. He knows how to understand the simple things, and therefore I think he's got 10 steps ahead of a lot of other people by enjoying the simple things. He knows how to go out and sit down into the woods and just enjoy what he's got there. He doesn't have to do something all the time. He does love fishing, but he does know how to enjoy some of the simple things in life. He's pretty knowledgeable now with his father's instructions too on identifying birds and warblers. And in fact, the day we were up to butcher the bull, he identified a little blue rump warbler that was there, and he took some photographs of it. So,
But you know, you're always making it sound like it's all the simple things, and they are, because you mean it's something that you can do on your own, and it's not expensive. There's no
it's
expense.
free.
Free. But it's not so simple what you know, because you know a
Yeah.
great deal. It's taken your whole lifetime. That's
Yeah.
why when they had the drug bust in Easton in the hydraulic company property,
Right.
they sent you in
Right.
because you know how to walk into a thick area,
Right.
all overgrown. It's
Yeah,
you know,
I-
you've learned a lot of things over all these 32 years here.
The woods I feel completely home at all the time. And no
Really?
matter where I go or no matter how deep I walk in the woods, I never have any fear of getting lost whatsoever. And I don't understand how people get lost.
But how do you know? By
on-
tracking the sun?
I
and
guess
other-
your subconscious mind is recording where you're walking and how you're walking. You know, if you walk up 2 hills, you know you have to come back down the 2 hills to come
Right.
back home. But on the other hand, I can understand a little how people get lost, because if I go to Trumbull Shopping Park and I get
Oh.
inside that building, I'm lost.
And you're
If
finished
I don't
there.
read the signs, I'm lost.
Right.
Or once in a while I have to go down to the hospital and visit someone, and I get lost in the hospital if I'm not reading the signs.
So you're disoriented
You
in
know,
different
yeah.
kind of spaces. And
But out
but
in
not
the
in the
woods,
woods.
cloudy, rain, snow, anything, I never have any problem with the
Hmm.
woods and getting lost. I
Joe,
know where I am.
where were you born? I know it wasn't here. I know.
Yeah, I was born
Oh,
in Bridgeport. Yeah.
Oh, so you are
down
from right
hospital.
here?
Yeah, I'm
Down
from
where?
right here. Well, I lived over here on the other side of the reservoir off Sealy Road, and I was born in Bridgeport. My mother went to St. Vincent's Hospital is where I was born.
So how did you learn all these things then? How did you happen to
I
find-
worked on the farm, and we always had, my grandmother and grandfather had a big farm where the tennis magazine places right here on
Yes.
Park Avenue,
Right.
and they raised vegetables for market, and I worked on the farm, and I was outside all my life. And then when I went to high school, I was milking cows for Bill Lee before I went to school in the morning, and then when I came home, you know, at night, and helping out, cleaning the barn and the stalls. And I've been working more or less off and on all my life outside. And then when I came to work for the hydraulic company, it was completely outside every day of the year that I was working, and it was always outside. There was no inside work.
So you've always been fascinated by it, so you just keep learning.
You keep learning. There's so much to learn. I like the book of Jim Corbett. Jim Corbett's India, it's called. Jim Corbett was a man that they sent to kill the tigers that were killing so many people. One tiger killed like 300 or 400 people, and he had to go to destroy it. And in the back of his book, in the last page, it said how he took a man and they walked through the jungle one day for almost 2 miles, and all the trees were in blossom, all the birds were singing. It was such a beautiful day. And when they got to their destination, he asked him, he says, how was that walk? And the man said the road was very rough.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
that's
all
all
the
he
man
said.
remembered
That's
was
all
the
he
road was
remembers,
rough.
because he didn't know what to look for. He didn't know how to enjoy anything. It was just a rough walk. Okay, so that's what takes place with a lot of people here today. They don't know what to look for. They don't know how to look for it. And so they just say, well, it's a chore, you know.
I see. So they're not trained to see with their eyes or
No.
what they have right near
No.
them.
and some people can step right on things and they never see it, you know. And it just takes a little bit of practice and just gear the paces down a little bit,
And be
you
quieter,
can see.
maybe.
Yeah, you can be quieter, but there's still a lot of stuff you can see even being noisy unless you're beating on a drum, you know. There's a lot of animals that are well accustomed to people that you can see, a lot of birds, a lot of different things that are going on. In the fall, I think I mentioned this to you before, that the hawks, all the hawks
Oh.
migrating, and people walk around up and down the streets in Bridgeport and everything, and they don't realize that maybe as many as 1,000 hawks in that day flew over their head migrating.
I see lots of
but
hawks.
they're way, way up high.
Flying high over the
You know,
reservoirs.
everywhere you look, there's a new road being cut in somewhere, and
know.
there's more houses, and you know, that's a tough thing to swallow because of the fact that once it's gone, you're never going to get it back.
I feel
It's
terrible
gone.
about it, though. But
You know, well, that's progress. The almighty dollar still controls everything,
Right.
you know, and when it's gone, people are going to say, where did it go? What can we do to save it? Well, you aren't. It's gone for good. It's done and it's over with.
I mean, it's not only gone, the land is gone, but the knowledge of what was on the land and
Right.
your knowledge, that'll be gone too.
Yeah, it's gone. Well,
We got people like James who understand it, and it's nice that the public understands the value of it because they're so, you know,
right.
and supportive of his writing.
Yeah. Well, they don't realize, you know, when you do something, you may do it a mile up the stream and build a bunch of houses, but people don't realize the more roads you put in, the more parking lots you put in, the more the water is
Running off.
concentrated and it runs off, and you get flash floods, which a little brook could never carry. You wash the banks out, you destroy, a lot of erosion is caused. The little trout that are in there suffer from the silt.
Well, it's out of
And
control. What can we say?
Yeah, it's out of control.
And it
It's
hurts
just
us
that
all.
too bad that people have to put that much value on the dollar and don't look around and see what they have that's free.
Well, I must agree with you. And if you ever get an opportunity to hear Joe Haines speak, because occasionally he does do a lecture at the Easton Public Library or other libraries that have asked him, or men's clubs, or
Yeah.
I hear you're up for auction actually, and the fundraiser for a walk with Joe Haines in the woods.
A nature walk.
Nature walk. If you get an opportunity, make sure you go hear him speak, because from the children in the audience to the elderly adults, everyone's fascinated when you give a lecture and discuss the outdoors with everyone.
Yeah, it's not really a big thing. It's just telling them what's right there under their nose,
Well,
you
we're-
know,
we're
and what to look for.
So we're telling you what's under your nose. Get outside and be quiet and look around, and maybe take some books out of the library that'll give you some background, and pay attention for James Prosick's next book called Joe and Me, which is any day now.
Yeah, it should be. I think it's out now. I think Barnes & Noble bookstores is carrying it already.
And it's sweet stories of
Yeah.
things that have happened where Joe was training James to be an outdoorsman as well. Thanks, Joe. Thanks so much, and good luck with your CBS
Okay. thank you.
filming.